What's up, y'all? I'm back again with another podcast. I'm here with my boy Humza,
What's up?
and we are talking about Code Geass versus Death Note. Which one's better? Me personally, I like Code Geass more than Death Note.
And I'm arguing on the Death Note side.
Yeah, I mean, it goes either way. We both agree that
Both shows are good.
both shows are pretty good
Yeah.
in their own way, and they're both at the top of their category. But we kind of biased against one another. I personally like Code Geass more because of like the characters and the development overall and the conclusion, and we'll all get into that
We'll get into it. We'll get into it. It's a whole debate.
today.
We got to break it down. How are we going to talk about it, though?
Yeah, we have a whole system we're gonna go by, go all the way from main characters to side characters to even like animation and soundtrack, and we'll finish off with the conclusion. And it's a lot. I guess we first thing we'll talk about is the two protagonists, Lelouch and Light. What do you what do you have to say about Light?
Bro, Light is one of the most unique protagonists to like any story because is he's such like okay for both of these you can say that they're the villains of the story, right? Even
Yeah,
though they're the
a
protagonists,
little bit of both. Yeah,
but he's such like a like he's like clearly like a villain, but he's like a villain that like you can get behind and you can like root for. Cause like what he's doing is like he's cleansing basically all the evil. And like he started out as like like a good like high school student, right? And he's starting out and he finds a death note. And he's like, all right, I want to get rid of all like like the worst people in the world and clean up all the evil. Normally, like if like that's like the question, right? Like, would you kill baby Hitler, right? If you had if you had the chance, like, would you kill off and like the world's terrorists and all the world's like biggest like criminals and offenders? If you wanted to get rid of them, would you? A lot of people would say yes,
of
because
course,
like that would just get rid of like so many of the world's problems, you know.
of
I
course.
mean, right? We can't really get too political, otherwise we get like banned or something.
No,
But
I get what
like
you're
yeah,
saying. What I do have to say to that though is I think I would say Light was one of those people to set that expectation and that bar. However, there's also been other people like that. Not in the sense of like a Death Note in the way they go about doing things, but I feel like I would describe Light Yagami as having an extremely outraging god complex. And in the
yeah,
sense,
yeah.
yeah,
That's really what it is. It's a
and
god complex.
even you could say like Lelouch kind of has pretty much has a god complex
Yeah,
too.
Lelouch has a god
And
complex
I
too.
feel like that needing to purify the world and taking everything into your own hands is maybe when it dropped it was unique, but I don't think right now that it's unique.
How is it not unique right
You
now?
see a lot
So
of
many people watch Death Note now, and they're like, "This is like one of the best things I've ever seen."
okay, so I don't think it's unique now, like that type of character.
Like, name others, bro. I think like Light is probably like more interesting than like Thanos,
Maybe
bro.
if we're talking about protagonists specifically, or are we just talking about characters? Are we talking about like protagonists that are like Light, or are we talking about characters that are like Light? Because if we're talking about protagonists that are like Light, you can say Aaron Yeager to an extent. You can also say, well, of course,
Well, yeah,
Lelouch.
because I mean, I would say like Aaron Yeager is probably like is trying to be like Lelouch more than anything. Okay, but here's the thing. Aaron is trying to be more like Lelouch, but I think Light is handled differently because he's selfish in it. Like at first, and this is like but spoilers for both shows, by the way.
Yeah, I don't. I think that goes without saying.
Yeah,
We're going to be spoiling both of the shows. Yeah, awkward.
spoilers for both shows, by the way. So if you're not trying to get spoiled, sorry about that. Um, but it really is like Light. He had a good motive in the beginning, and
Hmm.
then it just got to his head. That's why I like it's like a main character with like who had flaws, you know, and it what became as like a mission to like purify evil. After that, it just became a mission to like be like at the top of the world. You know,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and I really like that because it was like a change of pace because you're so used to these like friendly ass protagonists that have like one mindset goal. They're just trying to be like the king of something, like be the leader, like be the
The
hero.
Hokage
Yeah,
or like
it's such
Wizard King. Yeah, no, it's
like
repetitive.
a
It
kind
was
of
a
like a
good
childish goal,
it
right?
was it was a good change of pace for me when I first watched it. But the one thing I didn't like specifically about Light was really his selfishness.
That's what I liked. I liked
It
that because he was selfish.
and I
So
think
that
that's
means
a
like
good that was good for the story, but like
because
in
no, because look, so he's selfish. That's also how people are.
people are selfish,
People are
yes.
selfish, so it makes it like one relatable, two realistic. That's what I like. You like yeah, maybe you don't like light, but you can't deny that somebody who had that, especially somebody with that high of an IQ, somebody who was that smart, had that much clout in like their family,
Uh-huh.
had that like that much of an ambition, to have that much of a drive. Like you can very well see that realistically happening. You know,
But I mean, you could also see the other happen though. Like in Lelouch's case, he was part of the royal family, so he did kind of have that prestige and honor of being in the royal family. But at the same time, after him and his sister got thrown away, he didn't have that, and people didn't see him
I
as that.
think yeah. So everyone loves to compare the two of them, and while they're like really similar, I think by the time they're both of the respective shows end, they're two different characters.
Completely.
Cause yeah, completely. Cause at the like with Lelouch, he ends as like a hero.
Yes, he
With
does.
Light, he ends as a
As
villain.
a villain, yeah.
Right. So I think it's two completely separate. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just preference. But I think how Light was handled really well, and like the fact that you follow villain all the way through as a main character. The rise is like this is why I like Death Note. It's the rise and fall of Light. And that's
Yeah.
why, and so a lot of people say like the second half, oh, the second half of Death Note, blah blah blah.
I actually did
And
like the second half of Death Note. I have
yeah,
to say, I did enjoy it.
but people don't fail to realize. People think that you can just drop off Death Note after like a certain character dies, and then you should be fine. Like now, the whole story is the rise and then the fall of Light, and that's like a whole character arc for him. So you definitely got to watch the whole thing to like really appreciate like what's going on.
100%.
And then whereas Lelouch, he's like it's a guy who's it's like a rise, and he's just like the bad guy for like everybody, but then he ends up like a legend. You know,
That was for me the reason why I liked it better. I mean,
no, it
of
was a
course.
good ass ending. Yeah, I'm not even gonna.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get into
we'll
that a
get into
little
it
bit later,
later.
but it was the reason why I like Galoosh so much is because like at the end he kind of did seem like a villain and then a hero eventually, but his motive like originally was to put his sister in a peaceful place and kind of he would destroy the entire world just for his sister to be safe. And I mean that to me, like being that okay, what like extremely family oriented
Hmm.
in that extent, not in the extent of like killing people, but like more in the sense of what you'll do for your family. I think that really stuck closer to me than somebody who was trying to become a god of the new world. And I feel like while that is a really great story to follow, and the selfishness of Light is like realistic, and that's something that you definitely see in society nowadays. I feel like kind of in like a little bit of the older generations, not really like too much now. I feel you see kind of more of that family orientedness, and even I mean you'll see both, but I feel like if you were to ask um like the question of like how much do you love your family to like people of like older age, like the generation behind us, I feel like they'll say it a lot more than like our generation now. And when those animes were made, like at that time, like I don't remember when Death Note was made, but I
Same
know.
year.
Oh, they're okay. I guess they're both
Yeah,
in the
they're
same
both
year.
2006.
I feel like people were at that time more accustomed or would prefer more of a liking to Lelouch, just because he did have this ulterior motive.
Well,
And
like, okay, so here's the thing. So Lelouch is a very like outward presence. He's like he likes to shout a lot. He likes to like announce a lot of stuff. Whereas Light, a lot of his stuff is he plays off as like a calm guy, and he has all this like inner monologue. So like, so you're just interested in what he's gonna say now. Like I think that Death Note is more tense than Code Geass. Because I feel like even with just everyday dialogue, and it helps with the setting too, because the setting is like first in high school, then he goes into the workforce, and it's all just dialogue based, right? Like it's all dialogue, and like there's some situations that happen where you can cut the tension with like a knife, and I think it really helps. Like I've never seen a character. That was the first time where I was watching something that I was like, I want to know what he's gonna say next. Like I want to know the next words he's gonna say because that's literally gonna advance the plot. Well, like what is he thinking right now?
I mean,
Like
you could arguably make the same make the same argument for Lelouch too.
well,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, because Lelouch is very tactical based, right? I mean, from what I remember, like a lot of it came from like his team, and he was like a whole leader, and he had like a whole goal, and he was like, oh, my team do this, blah 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 blah. But what I liked about Light especially was that he was playing like this man was playing like 4D chess, bro. Like he had like all these steps planned out
okay, yeah,
from the beginning, and he like the thing about Death Note is like you never know who's gonna get axed, cause a side character might come in and you're just like, oh shit,
he's doing too
like
much.
he's doing too much. Like is this gonna is this gonna like foil some plans and stuff like that? So yeah, I guess that's time going into the story part a little bit instead of like the main character, but I just think like overall thoughts. I think like Light, he's like you're just sucked into like what he's saying, and the fact that he's basically like very relatable, right? Very relatable, everyday guy. I mean, not everyday guy because not everyone's like a freaking valedictorian, right? But he has a goal that you can get behind. Whereas Lucius' goal, you don't even know his goal until like the very end.
No, that's not true. You know his goal the entire time.
Yeah, but then okay, well, and season one, right?
I mean, like I said earlier, like his goal was to give his sister
Like a
like
better
peace
world.
in a better world. So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
Whereas
really, if
Light's
you want to
goal was to
talk,
just improve the whole world.
yeah, I mean that's really the difference. That's the biggest
Okay,
difference I
okay, but
see
here's also
between them.
something about Light. Remember, Ryuk was telling him that if you use this Death Note, there's something like beyond hell waiting for you, or there's nothingness waiting for you.
you don't go to heaven or hell.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, oh
you
yes.
literally just exist into
Oh, I
nothingness,
did a
and
TikTok
then
about this. I
and then
remember.
that's what I like about Light. He's like he was willing to face that. He's like I'll take that if it means improving this world. I was like damn, like yeah.
No, yeah, I get what you're
Yeah,
saying.
he like neither will he suffer in hell, and neither will he enjoy paradise. He will just like cease to like yeah. I forgot what he said, but you
Yeah,
know
I
what
got
I
what you're
mean.
saying.
Yeah.
Also, this whole thing is gonna be on YouTube. And our channel's name is Two Shonen. If you want to go check it out
It
later.
looked pretty gay.
I know, I know. Oh, also, somebody asked for the fit check. I have gray sweatpants on. Uh, no weird shit, but this is what I'm rocking with. Anyways,
Koski hoodie, Legend of Zelda teacher, and shit, khaki pants on.
okay. Anyways,
I don't have it.
all right. Back to what we were talking about. Uh, do you want to move on? Do you want to go into the story?
Well, you didn't really talk about Lelouch, right?
So, okay, I guess I can elaborate more on that. The reason I like Lelouch so much and why I think he's better than Light, besides the fact um, that I liked his ulterior motive better. I kind of what you said with Light, where there's tension. I felt the same way when he was playing chess, like more like literally and
Well, yeah,
figuratively,
yeah. It's
like
true. Chess
especially
is a
when
really
he's
big
like
thing in Code
he's
Geass.
in Light sense. Light had the upper hand in most situations because the Death Note really helped him, but Lelouch had the Geass, and the Geass can't automatically kill people unless like you're either looking at them, uh, and you command them to do something, or if something else happens and they that happens to kill them. So he can't just and especially
Well, I
you
mean,
could technically count it as like, I guess, like a mecha anime, and like most of the time they're fighting in those robots, right? So you don't really get to see the other person, and so really you have to. Okay,
well, it's the
that.
same thing. Cause it's like, I mean, with Light, he doesn't know anybody's names. He doesn't know like, if he's looking at somebody, he doesn't know their name. He just like
But they were able to
walks
catch
around.
on eventually, right? Like pretty much like
They
episode
know.
4 or 5. Not like who Light is, but like what the Death Note can do is what I mean. The Geass, it took them a long time to figure
No,
out.
okay. Nobody figured it out until L did. L figured it out, but that's because he's L. No one else figured it out.
Yeah, and there's nobody really who.
And L was like playing like. Okay, we'll get into that later with the side characters.
And so what I mean is like pretty much Lelouch was the underdog for a good chunk of the story up until
True.
he joins with I believe it's China. I believe he because like the little like tiny princess and like the guy with the long hair. I don't know if you I
That's
don't.
Britain and Japan. The princess was. What are you talking about? The little princess?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's his cousin, right?
Nah. Hold on.
And that's how about Euphemia, are you?
No, 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 no.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's
Uh,
right. That's right. That's right.
this chick. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
that's
when
right.
they finally joined together, and
His mom was Chinese, right?
who?
Louis?
No. Um, but yeah. So when up until that point, and they actually started getting like a lot of traction, and when they made this big move with China, and they started actually like accumulating good forces, he was an underdog for most of that time because what Zero's identity was like he was the face of a rebellion, and so after like not like on top of not having experience, like not nearly as experienced in like government official like soldiers, I guess, he has to try and lead this army like in a size difference too, and in most situations he won for the most part. So I think like that underdog like type of not mentality, but kind of like the underdog situation that he was in, and the fact that he was able to do everything that he was able to do after being like dealt with so little cards. Well, pretty much just one big card and a bunch of like little cards.
Yeah, but he had C2 by his side to like
But what did C
basically do
two? What did
plot
he really
armor.
do though?
Like anytime like something happened, she would just like come in the way and just save Lelouch.
I could maybe like a few times that happened,
And
but
then he had like a whole team of other mechs to help him fight.
yeah, I know. But you also got to think about it like this: he was going up against Britannia's royal army, which had not only did they have all the knights from 1 to 12, they also had um, the princess. I believe she was a princess, and then they also had Snizel, right? And then they had um,
Yeah, because he was zero. But like he won because he was commanding an army. He was commanding an army to like overcome a lot of the forces, right? So that's how he made his way to like the royalty like castle where he like overthrew the prince at the time or whatever.
and then part of that also has to deal with we are kind of getting into the story here. I'm not gonna lie, so we can just shift it into that. Really, like winning the approval of the people because Britannia was such a big issue within the world, and it conquered most of the world. And so for the fact of having a face like Zero, leading this big rebellion against like the biggest issue, won the approval of so many people, and eventually it did start help fueling their rebellion in that fire. But that underdog part really just kind of stuck with me, which is why I liked him a lot more than Light. I feel like Light had the advantage in the sense of like he had the Death Note, and while he had to learn people's names, I think it's a like personally, I think it's a lot harder to play chess and out tactic somebody than like learn somebody's name. And I'm not trying to
Well,
like I'm not trying to
well,
oversimplify it, but I mean,
the thing between thing was like Lelouch had to literally fight off armies and like multiple like royals. Light had one enemy for like more than half the show, and that's where the main conflict came from. Because he had one obstacle standing in the path of his goal, right? In the first arc. So a lot of it came from, and a lot of the tension was from there. Whereas, like, yeah, like each battle in Death Note advances the story, right?
hmm
But whereas, like, in my bad, in Code Geass, each battle advances the story.
oh yeah,
In Death Note, it was each conversation and each like research and mystery advanced the story. That's and story wise, that's why I think it's like more clever because like Code Geass is like I mean there's been a crap ton of mech shows before Code Geass even came out. I mean just look at the 70s, 80s, and 90s, right?
hmm
But for Death Note, it was like suspense thriller, crime mystery, a lot of that stuff. So like I just think it's more of a clever premise. More like the setting is handled really well because it's just like every day. It's like every day. So it's because usually with like anime and stuff, it's like fictional settings, right?
hmm
This is just Tokyo, 2006 Tokyo, modern day Tokyo, right? So how do you make modern day like interesting in a story, you know? So just like and he uses modern day logic too. That's what I like too.
I did like that.
It uses modern day logic with like cell phones and like how people like handle like their family situation, how people like head to work and stuff like that. Um, so just story wise, like I love Code Geass, but I think it has a lot of problems like story wise, especially with the second half. I don't know if you feel what I'm talking about.
Explain what you mean. Explain
Okay,
like well, first we count the second half of the story after.
R2.
Oh, so just season two.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think like season one is pretty good, though. There's one moment in season one that like really bugged me when I watched it. When I watched it again, I watched it twice. I watched Code Geass twice. First time I just watched season one, and then I don't know why I didn't continue. Then I watched it again when I was like a lot older, and then I still loved it, but there was a lot of stuff that like was like pretty glaring to me. And the first moment that like it like kind of took me out of the story was that moment when Lelouch and Euphemia were talking, and he was like, "Oh, I could just." It was like a joke. He was like, "Oh, I could just order you to kill all the 11s," and then like it just
Oh
happened.
yeah, no, I thought
That was
that.
the stupidest plot twist ever.
Okay,
It
I
was
think
so dumb.
no, I
It
the
was
reason
so dumb.
I can understand why you think it's dumb.
Because look. This is why I think it's dumb. Because up until that point, he basically all of his obstacles were like he overcame them. Like he was like, all right, where else can this story go? Like Lelouch has gotten this far, and he's meeting his cousin. Oh, nothing can go wrong, right? So it's just like I felt like he wrote like the author of Code Geass. He wrote himself in a corner. He's like, what do I do now? Oh, let me just like play off a joke, and then that'll like.
No, but it ties into the story though.
I know it ties into our story, but it's so
No, but it makes
stupid.
sense. You got to think about
He
it.
just, but why that line specifically? He's like, oh, I could order you to just kill all the 11s, and then she's like, okay, I will, and then I was like, this is so dumb. Like because of a joke,
It was no, but it
yeah,
was the
it
way.
spawned off another season of Code Geass.
No, but the reason it happens like that is because well, first
I
they're
know
at an
his,
impasse,
I know because
and
of
his
his,
Gios becomes uncontrollable. So
he has
it's him not
control.
realizing how uncontrolled of his power like that he has. Like he doesn't understand it, which
I
is why
think
and like C2 says, it gets more uncontrollable and worse and worse.
I
Remember that
know.
one guy who has like the who can like read everybody's minds, and it got to a point where he couldn't stop reading people's minds. It was because he didn't understand the power of his Geass and what he was getting himself into. So that moment was when Lelouch didn't understand really what he was getting himself into.
I know what you mean. Like I know he couldn't control it, but I just think the situation, the way the scene was handled, it was really half-assed, and it was just really convenient. It was a really convenient.
It was
It
convenient.
was a
Yes,
really
it was very
convenient plot
convenient.
device to further the story because like look, he like the author he wrote himself in a corner. He's like, oh, like I can't end the story this early because like look, he would have just talked to Euphemia, and then things would have just been solved. And then like, but it was such a convenient plot point that he had to say that one very specific line for her to commit mass genocide and for her to be killed. That's what I just thought was like kind of a little dumb. That's what I just thought was kind of like a little dumb. And then yeah, there's a lot of stuff in R2 that like didn't really sit well with me either. Um, but I mean, if you want to say something like that,
So here's like besides what I just said, right? Like about like the whole like me kind of explaining why that happened. I in in some sort of like I can agree with you a little bit where he did kind of write himself into a corner in that situation, but I feel like the way he wrote himself out of that corner was also pretty good too. Like maybe he shouldn't have used the line as a joke, but
I think like
it had to be something where it was an accident. It
okay.
had to have been an accident because there's no way that he could have written it in a way where he did it on purpose. Because I believe I watched this a while ago. At that point, I believe it was when like the whole Zero's rebellion was getting very large, and Euphemia, like right before she was about to go out and announce the like the new area. I believe it was like a whole dedicated area just for 11s. They were talking because it had become a problem and they were like finally getting along or whatever, and then that happened. So I feel like maybe they shouldn't have used a joke, but
I think it should have just been written more cleverly.
it could have been like a little bit better. But I think the way they executed it was just fine for the story.
Okay, I think season one was probably like nine, nine, pretty high nine. Season two though is where like so many of the problems come from, which is fine because the ending was amazing, but R2 was like a hot mess. It was just like melodramatic and plot device after plot device. It was um like the thing with his brother was such a poorly written character, and I was just like,
Oh,
all right,
Rolo?
yeah, yeah,
I
Rolo.
don't think Rolo.
Well,
Well,
Rolo was that? Yeah.
no. His name is Rolo, but what I mean is
And the way like things escalated, I was just like, oh my god. But then I mean, everything was like forgiven with the ending of the show. But
see what I okay. So there
and you
okay
cannot deny that it's
there
melodramatic as
okay there are some moments. I think when what is her name? What the hell does melodramatic mean? I'm drawing such a big blank right now.
it's like when everything is like dramatized and everything is such like
Oh, okay.
you
So
know it's
okay, so
basically
this is
like an Indian drama, bro. You know
oh
how
okay.
like
No. Okay, I understand. So kind of what
the
I
bitch gets slapped like 14 times in like one scene. Yeah,
so
basically like that.
I think when you have a point in some instances, but I want to bring up one specific part of the story that's in like kind of like I believe it's like more of in the beginning of season two. I think her name is Scarlet, maybe
Scarlet,
the orange haired chick, the one who was like
Shirley.
Shirley. Shirley is her name.
How do I know this and you don't? It's your
I
favorite anime,
do.
bro.
I know.
Come on,
It
man.
slipped my mind. Um, but when I think when Shirley dies, a lot of people he did over like maybe he did a little too much,
I didn't feel anything with Shirley though. I don't know why.
but
I
the
was like,
thing the
okay, that's
I didn't really feel
weird.
too much when Shirley died, but I think he came to the realization and I came to the realization at the same time, and it was more of like this is the consequences of my actions. Like not like Lelouch's always been somebody who like adores his loved ones and keeps his like his closest close, I guess, in that instance.
Yeah, so why the fuck did he let Shirley die? That was
Well,
like,
that also wasn't his fault. Like he didn't know because at the time Rolo was playing double agent, so he didn't know that Rolo was playing double agent.
it's also been a while since I've seen Code Geass, so
It's
I've
been like
forgotten
it's
some
been like
things.
6 or 7 months, but yeah. So Rolo was playing double agent, right? And so he thought Shirley was gonna get in his way, so he kills Shirley, and so he realizes at that moment.
Why would it's like the fact that Rolo gets rid of Shirley is just like what? But it's, man, keep going.
So I like after like you look and see the blood on his hands and you realize that like the consequences of his actions, but it's interesting to me that like I don't like saying these type of things, but if it was my situation and I was put in that point where somebody that I like was close to and adored was killed, like in that situation, like I probably would have just stopped everything right there. But what I loved so much about it was that he kept going. Like like she was close, like one of his close ones, but he had this he was so like straight on this goal of making a better place for his sister that he couldn't stop. And I feel like it was
Yeah, no, I mean I get that, but it's just like there's a lot of good moments in season two, but also like I just think overall like it was like a hot mess, and and man, that's not like an unpopular opinion. Like
no, I've heard I hear it a lot. I
yeah,
hear it a lot. I can kind of say the same thing
thing
for Death Note
Death
too,
Note.
though, and more of the sense of like I think personally that like okay, Nier was never supposed to be like nearly as good as an antagonist
But
as L, but
but Nier, so here's the thing: a lot of people want to shit on Nier just because he took L's spotlight, which is not true. Nier, he himself said, "I can never be as good as L, but Light Yagami, you are not special." And I forgot what was the line. It was like a really dope line. He acknowledges that he's not as good as Nier, but he still has a duty to carry out, right? And he himself doesn't even carry out the situation, but all he knows is that Light Yagami is evil, and Kira is evil. So he has a one track goal just to take just to take Light down. And Nier is like he successfully does it because what L did, L's biggest weakness was he let his emotions become his weakness because he let Light Yagami become L let Light become too close of a friend for him, so he started having second thoughts. Whereas Nier, I think it's pretty symbolic that like he's childlike for a reason, right? Because children they have one track mindset. They only see good and bad. Whereas adults, we usually see
more of a gray
we
area.
gray area, right? We think that like people can be bad or good, right? So we tend to like have second thoughts and stuff. For kids, especially like around that age, I think I forgot how old Nier was, but I think he was like younger than like 15, 16. Uh, which was I think it was like really smart because he was like he always plays with toys and Legos and all that stuff, and he like creates plans. I think at the end of the manga, he had like a whole like house of cards kind of thing, which
Yes,
is like
oh
really
yes,
symbolic.
I remember this.
And
It
that
was
was
also in
like
the
that was
anime.
really yeah that was really symbolic. But but yeah, like I don't really like the whole like everyone calls Nier trash. I'm like Nier is not trash. Yes, I like L better than
Everyone
Nier.
likes L better,
Everyone likes L better because he
of
was a
course.
perfect foil to Light.
Perfect.
But I think that Nier is a good antagonist, and like that he very well deserved um bringing down Light. And I mean, you can make a case like the anime didn't really adapt the manga as best as possible. Like I would say the manga is definitely the best way to go for the Death Note route, especially with the second half. The first half is pretty good, well adapted, but they really rushed. They this Nier's arc was like 10 episodes, but like there's so many chapters like fleshing out Nier, and so everyone who reads the manga is like basically likes the second half of Death Note too. But but yeah, like I never like when I was watching Death Note like the second half, I was never like taken out. I was never like everything seemed very realistic. Everything seemed very put in place, and like people shit on Mello too, but I think Nier is like the logical side of L, and Mello is like the emotional side of L. I think both of them, if both of them put together, because both of them are like
They were both supposed to be
L's.
the predecessors or
Both of
something
them,
like
yeah,
that.
both of them together were supposed to be L's predecessors, and then both of them put together was basically L. And I mean, yeah, and like everyone think that like oh Nier's like disrespecting L, bro. Nier like L is Nier's biggest role model, and the fact that like L died, but we should be on Nier's side because the fact that L died it affected him so much that he had a one track mind. He's like I'm gonna be cured, right?
Yeah.
And then when we talk about side characters, we talk about story, like we talk about villains, right? I think in this case, Death Note has a bag, or antagonist, or like a foil, right? In this case,
Antagonist.
Death Note has a bag. It's way more. They're way more memorable. I mean, in terms of like Code Geass, like who are you gonna? You only remember Lelouch, really. Like Suzaku, not
I
Suzaku.
don't count Suzuku as a villain. You know who I do count a
He
villain.
gets in the he gets in the way quite a
He
bit.
gets in the way quite a bit, but he's kind of in the sense of like Sasuke. I'm not comparing. I don't think Suzuku's on that level of Sasuke, but he takes somewhat of a similar path, but more in the sense of like he was on Lelouch's side, then he's against Lelouch, and then at the end he's with Lelouch. Kind of how like Sasuke was with Naruto, and then Sasuke leaves the village. Sasuke does all the bad shit, and then comes back at the very end. Um, where was I going with that? But I wouldn't count him as a villain.
So who do you think is like the best antagonist or best?
The best antagonist throughout the whole
Yeah,
story,
yeah.
it's either it's either his dad, or it's wow. I think the only person you
And
could
he
really
he
say
just
there is this.
acts like
I
a
wouldn't
few
say he
episodes.
gets. I wouldn't say that. It takes him like
The
a
dad.
while.
When does he leave the story?
He leaves the story in the second season.
The second
It's
season,
like
but
the last
like
half.
yeah, but he's not there like for like the last three, five, 4 episodes, right?
Yeah, because that's it's like the last like the last 3 or 4 episodes, and that's just because that's supposed to
But he was
be.
even that like he wasn't fleshed out enough. Like we didn't really get to see his point of view. Like he was just the bad. He was just like a dick. That was the kind of thing. He was just like a dick.
I mean
He
true, but
wasn't fleshed out.
at the end though, when you understand why he was doing what he was, he wanted to what is it? He wanted to destroy he wanted to destroy the future and live out in the past, which was like why he wanted to kill God. That was the reason. He wanted time to stop. He wanted to live in the past, which is why when the Lelouch when the Lelouch and his mom, or like I mean his mom is dead technically, but like when he's in that vision with C2 and his dad and their mom and all that, and you see okay, okay. When you see all the stuff like they did and why they wanted to kill God. Where was I going with this? Dude, I just completely lost my train of thought. Anyways, you understand his point of view and why he did it. And then eventually Lelouch is the complete opposite. He wants to destroy the past and create a future, which is why a lot of people were siding with him more in that sense.
Do you want to compare Ryuk and C2 because they're like basically the
Same thing. I guess
yeah.
we could.
I think Ryuk's way
I
better.
think Ryuk's better too. I don't think C2 provides anything too much
But
for the
also
story.
like I love how Ryuk is just there. He's just there to enjoy the ride. He's like I'm bored.
It's like I hear a lot of people say this, but Death Note isn't really in the eyes of Light Yagami, it's in the eyes of Ryuk. And you could really say that.
No, because Ryuk doesn't know what Light's thinking. He never knows what he's thinking.
Or
He's just
in the
there to like
it's more
watch
of
what he's doing. Like yeah, the whole story starts
with Ryuk.
with Ryuk, but that doesn't mean it's like in the eyes of Ryuk. We follow Light's thoughts the whole story. I would say Death Note is more inner dialogue in Light than it is like spoken dialogue.
I can agree with you in this sense that I don't think besides the fact that C2 gives um Lelouch his Geass, I don't really like I don't really think she provides like a whole lot to the story, and it might just be me not remembering, but um
You know what I would give Code Geass the point for?
what?
The baddies.
That's true. That's
It
true.
has plentiful amount of baddies. It
Plentiful.
doesn't even hold a candle. All we got in Death Note is like Misa, which is
Misa, and she's
Annie,
not even like
and
that.
then Light's young, like Light's little sister.
Bro,
He
bro,
is
bro, bro.
post time skip. He
Okay,
is
okay,
so
okay, okay,
fucking
okay,
bro.
okay, okay, okay,
He
okay. I'm glad you clarified that.
when what's his name? Is it Mitsuki or Yasuda? I forgot. But
The
he
guy
was
who
like
acts kind of like a little
he
bit
has a
farther from
crush
the rest
on
of.
he has a
Yeah, yeah,
crush
yeah,
on his
yeah. I remember. I
sister.
remember. I
I was
remember.
like, dang, you go get her, bro. I was like, dude, I wish that was fleshed out, but we never got that. We never got that. But
Okay, what about soundtracks? Soundtracks and yeah, soundtracks and animation. How do you feel? How do you feel? Which one do you feel
soundtrack.
like?
Okay, let's talk about soundtrack first, bro. Death Note has
Soundtracks, Death Note
that
wise, most iconic. I would
Death
say
Note,
so.
dude. Everyone knows the song that plays when he eats the chip. You know
Or like when he's thinking, because that's like
the
you. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then also L's theme, the
Yeah, yeah. I think in that sense, and this might just be me because I
but don't get me wrong.
uh
Okay, so Code Geass has like two of my favorite openings of all time.
and I skipped both of them.
We got an opening skipper over here.
Hey, it was one time. It was one time.
It's his favorite. It's his favorite show, and he skipped the
Bro,
opening.
bro, bro. If Netflix is gonna give me the opportunity to skip the
But
opening,
it's your
I'm gonna
favorite
do it. But
show.
I'm gonna do
Why'd
it.
you go back and watch the music?
I mean, I could, but like, what's the point?
It has the best, like one of the top 10 best openings ever.
You know what?
Boom.
I will after we finish today, I will go back and watch them. But I think
But I think,
honestly, like
I mean, Code Geass
Death Note does take the soundtrack
is very
wise
memorable. Code Geass
memorable and
has a
iconic.
good soundtrack, but I don't know if I
I
could
don't think it
sing.
compares.
I don't know if I could sing like any of the like in the show scores or soundtracks or
Even
like the
even though I
OSTs.
watched Death Note like more recently than Code Geass, I might have like a little bit of bias, but I can still remember off the top of my head when something happens, and I remember the sound that plays. When I was watching Code Geass, I didn't get that same feeling.
Dude, I watched the original Full Metal Alchemist in 2009, and I still remember. I haven't seen it ever again since, but I still remember the music. So I mean, a good soundtrack, a memorable soundtrack, that will stick with you if it's good enough.
Sure. What about animation? These were both made in the same
The
year.
same year, I think Code Geass has better animation
I was gonna say that.
because
I do
the
like
mech fights are
the
really
mech fights are
clean,
really nice. I do
bro.
enjoy them.
I'm not even gonna lie, bro. Sometimes I will like when I saw Death Note for the first time, I was like, damn, this looks really nice. Now I see it, I was like, dude, this looks like hentai animation.
That's
It
horrible.
literally does, bro. It really does. But I mean, if we take the manga, Death Note looks so nice in the manga. The way like Light is drawn and the way L is drawn, like that is some like that is like very this is very talented. It's so like memorable too.
From what I know, does I might be wrong, but Code Geass doesn't have a
I think
manga,
it
right?
does. You know what the cool thing about Code Geass is?
I heard it
I
was
think
a
it's a
show before
shojo.
it was.
I
Huh?
think it's a shojo.
What?
Yeah, look it up.
Yep.
Cosmic Storm says Yo Omar.
That was a while ago. I think he left. Is Code Geass? Oh, it's an anime original,
So
so I don't think it counts, regardless. But I mean, anyways, yeah, animation wise, if we're talking anime, Code Geass has it. But since I don't even think Code Geass has a manga, like, or at least I
It
haven't
doesn't
heard of
have a
people.
manga, but that's why the animation is really good. They had to make it really memorable. I mean, everyone it has a unique art style.
Hmm.
Like the legs are like really tall and skinny and stuff like that, and the hair is like very vibrant and yeah, like even if you think like Code Geass is like shit, you can at least like you'll still remember what all the designs look like because they're really well designed.
I did like. I feel like they were more. They stood out to me more than the Death Note ones. Like
Yeah, yeah.
the only I can't.
But also you're comparing like fantastical designs to like modern day Tokyo. Like these like most of the time Light is wearing like a dress shirt and pants.
Okay.
so so yeah. But yeah, I mean Code Geass has better animation for sure.
Okay.
I think more money was put into it in
It
general.
probably was because it was an. I don't know if it's a Netflix original or if it's
No,
just an
it's not
anime.
Netflix.
Okay. Okay.
If
Yeah. I was.
Netflix
I
was
don't.
even there
Yeah.
in
That's what I was. That's
2006.
what I was thinking. But
It
it is
was
an
it was
anime
by Studio
original.
Shaft. And I think Death Note was done by Madhouse or yeah, Madhouse.
That was Madhouse.
I think so.
That's crazy.
What
Um.
studio did Death Note? It's gonna watch. It's gonna give me the movie.
Pretty sure the boy.
Madhouse. Yeah, look.
Yo. He said the boy Humza. He spelled your name wrong though. That's.
Humza, not Hamza.
You know who that is, right?
Who's it?
Saad. His name's Saad. He knows Salman noise.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We play Warzone together.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, moving on to conclusion. I think this is gonna be the biggest argument between us. Maybe. I don't really know how you
It's.
feel about the light conclusion versus the Lelouch conclusion.
I think they're.
I think both were
I think
good.
okay. I think Luch's conclusion is amazing, but I think Light's conclusion is underrated because everyone should. Light's conclusion is underrated
No,
because
it is not underrated. What?
no one likes the second half of Death Note. Well, the popular opinion is like second half of Death Note's trash, so
But
people skip out on it.
yeah, but they don't skip on that ending. They might skip all the parts with Nier and stuff, but dude,
Oh, it's a good ass ending.
it was a
It's an
good ending.
amazing
It was
ending.
very symbolic.
Very symbolic.
Very
I
symbolic.
love how like okay, because Death Note, Code Geass's ending is very like happy, and Death Note's conclusion is very grim and like realistic and like it's like thematically like it comes to a close because like Light dies. Spoilers. Um, Misa kills herself. She jumps off a building because that's how depressed she is
I don't remember.
from Light's death. Mir won and built his house of cards and like basically commemorates L's legacy.
And he was pretty much able to beat the biggest case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone who had faith in Light is like shattered. And like the way and like the way Light calls Ryuk for help and then Ryuk's like, dude, I'm telling you this from the beginning. I'm the middle guy. Like I'm not here to help you. I'm not here to go against you.
I'm just here to watch.
I'm just here to watch.
Okay. You know what? I think we both agree that it's good. That one's good, but dude,
It
you
just
talk
really
about
depends on
Code
what's
Geass?
better.
You talk about Code Geass?
Bro, I know, but I can okay, so like you can visit like if you think about Death Note, you can visibly like that it's so hard to watch. Like Light like running while he's bleeding and he's just going slowly and he's like taking his final moments on the stairs. There's something so poetic about that. Now there's something really poetic about everybody. Here's the thing: everyone talks about Code Geass's ending. Everyone talks.
So how great
It's
it
so
is.
good. It's so
It's
good.
so
It's
good.
so good.
Bro,
I just wanted to talk about the Death Note ending because I don't not many people that I talk to admire as much as I admire.
maybe okay. You know what? You have a point. I think a lot of people, because they don't like the second half of Death Note, maybe some of them skip out on the ending. But I don't think it's underrated by any means. I think it's
Well,
still a
yeah, I mean
really
it's like
really
one
good
of the most
ending.
mainstream shows of all time. Most people have seen the ending.
But dude, Code Geass is full circle and that full I guess that the character development and which led to the conclusion. was was great. At the end
Mm.
of the day,
That is beautiful.
like he's like, we keep going back to this like this idea of I'm gonna create a world for my better world for my sister. And even then, at that point, when Nunnally was able to open her eyes and she tries to convince
Was
Lelouch to
she able
not.
to see at the end? Not only
Yeah,
she
so
was able to
so the
see
only
at the
reason
end,
she
right?
was like blind, quote unquote, was because her dad did the Geass on her, um to have her like technically be crippled and blind, but she wasn't ever crippled or blind, from what I believe.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, like even it even got to that point where, um, like Nunnally was
The
trying to.
first side, let's go.
He's whack.
He,
Anyways, um, like even she tried to stop him from like from what he was doing, and at that time she didn't know what he was doing. But I think what was really great was like he even had to put on the mask for his sister in order for um okay, Zach, for his sister, and like really do like all the things that he did, and the fact that he was able to take over pretty much almost the entire world. And then just for all that, for Zero to come back in and kill Lelouch, I think that was great. He finally realized that.
they both kind of do the same things.
I don't. Are you
Cause
talking about
like,
like the ending of like
yeah, cause like light kills all the evils, kills L. The only thing standing in his way. He becomes the god of the world, and then
That's not how it ends
the
though.
only thing left to die is himself, and then all the evils come basically.
F Lelouch, you better get put on a mask before I get lost your hands. Why is
Yeah, yeah, that's true. They but like they're similar yet so different. That's what we said that in the beginning. That like Lelouch becomes a hero, but Light stays a villain. So it just depends on what you like. I think it's clever. Me, I always thought that it was clever that Light we follow a villain through the whole story, whereas like
it
in
gives a
Lelouch,
different
hero and
it
villains
gives
like
it it gives
change.
a
Yeah,
different perspective, which is why a lot of people like it so much. Um, Also because of the fact that like it's just like it was. I think Death Note was very. I don't want to label it as horror, but it can be at certain points, and I think
oh, it's very dark.
it is very dark and deep.
Yeah.
I don't like. I would say that Code Geass is also dark and deep, but
Also, we had that stupid ass episode in Code Geass where like the fucking cat had like his mask. And you had to chase him around for a whole episode. I was like, come on, bro,
I
you're
think
wasting
that
my time.
that was probably like a little bit of filler, but
Uh,
um, conclusion wise, I think the whole idea of
I'll give it to Death Note. Oh, my Code Geass. I'll give it to Code Geass.
I just liked it because it was
It's a
like
better ending.
he planned out his own death, and it made Zero seem like a hero. And at the end of the day, Zero wasn't it wasn't a representation of one person. It was a representation of an idea and a movement, which is why I liked Zero so much. Maybe like, it's true that Lelouch hid behind the mask of Zero, but Zero wasn't Lelouch. Zero was freedom. That mask represented freedom in the world and peace. But Lelouch was just the one to drive that force. And then you see at the end Zero, who at the time is technically Suzaku, who comes out and stabs Lelouch. It's because somebody else had to drive that force of freedom and peace, which is why I think like the Code Geass ending is like honestly one of my favorite endings. I might be just hella
It is one of
fanboying
my
at my
favorite
point,
endings
but
too.
like, bro, like it was so good and it was so well planned out. I think the Zero Requiem was probably one of my
Mhm.
favorite like plans, and I think the Night of the Zero was also one of the coolest names of all time.
But okay, here's the thing though. At the end, there's like an after credit scene where like C2 is like, "Oh right, Lelouch," after he dies
I
and
don't
stuff.
I don't I don't remember it.
And then
Damn,
there's a whole thing that was like, there's like a movie called Lelouch of the Resurrection and stuff like that.
I didn't watch it. I heard it was more of like a romance story between C2 and Lelouch. A lot of people told me that for some reason. I don't know.
Why I would not want to watch that.
Yeah, me neither. That
Also,
wasn't really the point of the
what
show.
I have something. Oh, Bro, do you like Nina in Code Geass? Because I fucking hate her.
She's literally racist.
Yeah, but did she ever get better as a human being? No.
No, she never does.
No. And that's a flaw.
That's
That's a
not a
whole.
flaw. There
That's
has
not
to
a
be
flaw.
somebody like that.
Yeah, but she never improved. She never had a whole character. Everyone had a character arc.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, like remember that the guy on the rebellion side and the girl on
Yes.
the and then they like fell in love with each other.
Yeah, that was hella interesting. I just
Yeah,
didn't think about
that was
anything.
interesting. I like that, and they both changed for the better. And then there you had Nina, who's been there, who's been in the story the whole time, but she stayed a piece of shit. And even in the end, she was still a piece of shit. And I was like, all right, are they gonna make this girl understand and not be racist? Blah blah blah. Nope, didn't even touch upon that. And I was like, all right, that's fucking weird.
I guess
And you can
you
easily
could
say
say she
that
had a character arc
Nina
though.
is Death Note's worst. Nina is Code Geass's worst character. Would you agree?
Worst character, yes.
Yeah,
But she did a lot for the story to move on though. You remember at the she becomes like
she's like the scientist.
she becomes like one of those scientists and
Bro, any
okay,
scientist,
I'm
bro.
not saying she's a good character, but I think she was substantial to the
Bro,
story at least.
take Nina out of Code Geass. Nothing.
You could put something else. You
Nothing.
could put somebody else in
Bro, you
there.
could put Rolo in there. Well,
No,
if Rolo was a
you can't put
scientist,
Rolo
bro.
in there.
If Rolo was a
No,
scientist, bro.
you can't put Rolo in there. Rolo played like 10 times more of a bigger role. He was playing double agent the whole time. He killed one of Lelouch's closest friends, and like you could even say like they were like in love a
Rolo
little
should have
bit.
killed fucking Nina, bro.
Rolo should have killed Nina. I think so. Me
Yeah,
too.
Rolo
Um,
should have killed Nina.
but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It settles our debate really.
We didn't
So
really. I mean,
so okay, wait. So
it's basically
we
on
can
them to decide.
yeah okay, but we could tally this up right now. So Code Geass has
I would say. I
Code
would say.
Geass has
Okay, look. From my side, I would say Code Geass is better ending, better animation, but I think Code Geass has quite a bit of plot holes and issues like with the writing, whereas Death Note's more consistent. Death Note's more has a more clever setting. Death Note like
Death Note. Okay.
Death Note has way like I would say has more interesting and more unique like tension and like character drama and play and I mean and villains or and antagonists. I would say more interesting characters in Death Note.
Ooh,
I would
more
say
interesting characters.
yeah.
Mm, you
I don't
could
like Suzaku.
what?
He's so annoying. He's such like a
He's the hero boy.
he's such a boy scout. Yeah.
he's supposed to be the Lelouch, but the right version, like the one. He's literally like no, I
He
can't
got
say
my
that.
nerves. It was like a little too much of him. He kind of pushed the he kind of pushed the line a
I
little.
think they had a good dynamic. I personally, okay, for Death Note, I will say, there are less plot holes. There,
He's more interesting.
soundtrack's interesting, or the soundtrack. You have the advantage of the soundtrack. However, I will have to say, even though you don't think so, and maybe a couple of other people think so, I think the second half of Death Note does fall off, and it's not,
But
and
I
it
would say
doesn't. It
so does
literally,
R2.
yeah. I mean, I know, but
Yeah.
I don't think it falls off nearly as much as the second half of Death Note.
But I mean, like, but what is falling off? Like, because in the second half we get a lot of crazy shit too. So like, I mean, the stuff with Light's dad and all that stuff, the stuff like the whole thing that escalates all the way to the ending. I mean, it's only like 10 episodes, but
I don't know. I just feel like the second half of Code Geass was definitely a lot better.
dude, the second half, I would say the second half of Death Note is better than the second half of Code
Dude,
Geass,
no.
except minus that ending.
Okay. Anyways.
Because it's such a logical step forward. Like it's like everything makes sense. Everything that's leading up to Death Note's ending makes sense.
So does.
Plot wise.
Okay. All right.
Whereas like so, there were so many times I was watching R2 and I was just like, really that happened? Okay, like
Okay. Okay. Main character. Who would you have to say? with this guy. Anyways, main character, who would you say it goes with? You think it?
One Piece, yes sir. One Piece, greatness, better than Death Note, better than Code Geass. I would agree to this. Bro, I'm reading Fishman Island right now. So and I just got done watching Marine Ford. Not well, I read and watched Marine Ford, and that was amazing. That was a masterpiece. I read up to the Zoan arc. What arc is that called? Is that Wano? I don't know. Oh, it's Zou, right? ZOU or something like that. I don't know.
I think
I'm on Fishman
I
Island,
think
so
I think main character. I you like you like Light more than
I
Lelouch.
was
I like Lelouch more than Light, so I think we'll just give it a tie here because I don't.
I here's the thing. I think Light's more relatable. Light's more realistic, and I think Light's more clever. That's why I would give him the edge. Because it's like you'll never see a Lelouch. Like you'll never see somebody act like a Lelouch, but I feel like you can see a Light. But it's also hard to tell because this is like modern day.
Also, anime is not supposed to be realistic.
Animes, but
It can't. Okay,
But it's a
don't get me wrong.
story.
It
Stories
can.
can be realistic. I mean, it doesn't matter. Anime is literally just Japanese animation. Animation is just a way. It's just another medium of telling a story. Just because the story is fictional or not doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of biographical whatever animations out there. That doesn't mean it's like that doesn't undermine like what it's supposed to go for. But I mean, even then, like I don't like that argument. It's like, oh, like anime is supposed to be like realistic, but a whole point of a story and a story that you can get behind is that you can relate to what's going on, and you can like believability and like realistic characters and stuff like that. That's basically how clever is like everything written. You know, like how like how much can you like emotionally resonate basically. And I always like
It's
my
a fair point.
characters. I always like my characters that are more realistic and that I can get behind, like their motives and ideals and stuff like that, and how they are. I mean, because like, look, all of us have flaws.
That's why I like Pain so much.
Yeah. So
That's yeah.
I mean, like the typical, no human being is like perfect. No human being is like completely evil. No human being is completely good. Everyone's like in the middle, right? So that's why I like Light more because I feel like he is that, and like just his idea of like, Light is right. Nobody was gonna say, yeah, let's kill every criminal, but
There was nobody.
in
Yeah,
the
there's
back of
nobody.
everyone's head, they think it.
That's why Kira was so popular.
Yeah,
But that's also why Zero was so popular.
right before Kaido. Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, give me like a month. I'll get to that point.
I think that concludes.
I think that concludes. It's hard. It's a hard argument,
It's very
but
close, and each one has their respective points.
let's put a poll. Let's put a poll on Twitter.
Oh, on Twitter.
Poll on
Okay,
Twitter.
I will pull on Twitter, and I want to hear it in the comments. I want to know which one you like better and why. Code Geass
On
or
YouTube.
on YouTube, yes. Code Geass or Death Note and why. But yeah, it's pretty much gonna conclude our talk. It's been it's been nice. This is the two Shonen, and I'll catch y'all
For sure.
later.
Take care.